Now that Chapter 5 is out and Poppy Playtime might be coming to a close in Chapter 6, it's time to break down each chapter and solve all the lore and secrets. We'll be making a 6-episode series called Solving Poppy Playtime, and it's where I'll solve the lore of each chapter and the entire lore of each antagonist of the game. And now let's get back to the video. Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 is a simple but great game, and it's where we meet Huggy for the first time, the mascot of this great series, Huggy Wuggy, and we send him plummeting into the prison at the end of the game. Huggy Wuggy was a major success of the initiative, and was made only 10 experiments after the first success, Boxy Boo. Huggy was obedient and agile, and even dented metal when tested. He only had one issue: he would become extremely aggressive when under stress. This led him to lash out during conditioning like we see in Chapter 5 and injure multiple members of staff. Playtime eventually decided to test their theory that a friend would cure his aggression, and so they created Kissy Missy 1172. Their theory was proven correct and Huggy was calmed, and he was back to being the perfect experiment for a bit. Huggy would now start to fall under the influence of the prototype and start to lash out, eventually even breaking out of the factory for a few hours, but he was eventually captured in front of a house that is believed where he used to live before he was an orphan. Huggy would no longer be the scientist's perfect experiment. He was feral now and lashing out toward the staff more. This eventually led him to participate in the Hour of Joy and stay loyal to the prototype. In Poppy Playtime Chapter 1, we send him plummeting into the prison, but he gets patched up by, presumably, the prototype himself. Though it was for nothing, as the prototype seems to end Huggy and Kissy's story at the end of Chapter 5. But in my previous video, which the thumbnail's on the screen, and I'll link it at the end, I have a theory that Huggy lived, but Kissy didn't, and you should go check that out. By the entrance to the hallway we go through to get our red hand, we see a locked door named, well, there it is, and we know that's where Boxy Boo would be put to get rid of employees, so the name seems fitting, and, well, let's move on to the next part. We see many doors that lead to many different parts of the factory in the main lobby, but we never go into any. And what might they hide behind them? We're about to find out. We already know from Scrap Chapter 1 content that Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 was supposed to be giant, but the most important thing that we know from the initiative branch from the Scrap content is that it had heavy machinery in it, and which from the initiative labeling, and that they wouldn't have the labs right out in the open, I think we can say safely that the initiative wing is where the products for Playtime Co. were made. And in the main lobby, once again, we see a room called Theater. The theater is a map in Project Playtime, and presumably from the lore of the theater incident, and don't worry, I'll be making a video about it soon. The theater is where all the experiments were kept before creating the prison. And while I'm sure you can understand what happened, I'm not going to get into too much detail because I want to make a whole video on this incident. But let's just say it was a mini hour of joy, to say the least. The theater's main purpose, though, was to be a place for people to watch videos about the company during tours, and, well, that's about it. Cafeteria, it's where people eat food. Now, at first glance, you may think this is where the lab's entrance is, but they wouldn't have had it right there out in the open where anyone could get in without a grab pack. This room is probably just where they drew up ideas for Playtime Co. products. And, well, tested them. We see the store in the main lobby with Huggy Wuggy and never come back. The main clues we have are that in Chapter 4, we learned from Isaac, the formal game director at Mob, that we were supposed to backtrack in Chapter 4 and somehow go up. We already know that the initiative door led to a production line for the project. Sorry, I keep getting tongue-tied today. So that area doesn't lead to the labs, but what if a door led to... Oh my god! What if that door led to another entrance to the labs? We haven't gotten to the labs the correct way, so it could be a certain thing where the red and blue hand can open up the door to the labs, but then another hand is required for the actual entrance, and yeah, why not? The grab pack we received all the way back in Chapter 1 only has one hand. No theorist I've seen so far have asked the question, why is there only one hand? We already know that the doctor has basically been testing us this whole time, so what if he got Huggy to take the red grab pack hand? We even see in the tape for the grab pack that they were all supposed to come with two hands. So this strongly suggests the doctor had Huggy take it as soon as he saw the player drive up the playtime go. Do I think they existed? Yes. Where do I think they are up to now? Where Huggy was in Chapter 1, we already barely explored any of the first floor of Playtime Co. and from all the scrap content we've seen over the years, so I believe one of the things we missed were these three characters. But I talk more of this in my last video, so you should go check that out if you want. It's right there and I'll link it at the end. But yeah, that's pretty much it for them. The only reason Poppy Playtime even exists is because someone wrote us this dreaded note, and we hear the prototype say in Chapter 5 that Poppy brought us here for a quote-unquote reason. But how would she have done this? She was in a case. I believe Kissy Missy wrote the note for her because, well, Poppy was in her case, and she probably used Morse code or something. And Poppy was 11, so she wouldn't have had that kind of child grammar in the note. So it's adding up. Well, good thing we've solved Chapter 1, because there's 4 more of these videos to go. Stay tuned for solving Chapter 2, and see y'all later.